This one is so juicy. I would not be a happier person today because my dad drove me to school in a BMW. I feel myself getting older, and 28 is like creeping close to 30, and I feel like there's a lot of pressure that comes with the number 30. Why do I want to cry when I talk about it? Buying a house for me is so scary. This is the question on everyone's lips. But I'm gonna be honest, you guys, like the baby fever is taking over. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because we are going to be doing a extremely long overdue Q&A. Like so long overdue. I haven't done a Q&A all summer. I posted the prompts for this video 2 months ago. Very bad. We're gonna do some life updates in this video, and that will kind of explain a little bit why I feel like I've been off my YouTube game a bit this summer, but I felt like the best way to dive back in was with a life updates plus Q&A video. These are some of my favorite videos to watch, and they're also some of my favorite videos to film. I feel like they are such a fun way to get to know your favorite YouTubers just like on a deeper level, or even discover new YouTubers. Like sometimes when I find a new YouTuber, I go and look and see if they have any Q&As, because then I feel like I can really get to know them, and it just feels like hanging out and talking with an old friend or a new friend. So whether or not you are an old friend or a new friend, I'm so happy that you are here. If you're new, my name is Zoe. I'm 28. I just turned 28, so it's like new for me to say that in my intros. But I live in Montreal, and I just love making YouTube videos talking openly and honestly about lifestyle and personal finance and wellness, and basically just living our healthy and wealthy best life. That is kind of the, what do you call it? That is our catchphrase around here, and that is the goal, is to live our healthy and wealthy best life. So if that sounds good to you, I would love for you to check out my other videos and subscribe. And I better get through this intro quickly because you guys know the deal with my Q&As. They tend to run long, so let's get into it. But you guys, what do you think of my hair? Okay, tell me the truth, because I'm starting to feel like it's really time for me to cut my hair, and I'll put some pictures on the screen of like my hair inspo. Like I'm starting to really want to chop it off. And I used to have short hair. I loved it for a period. I definitely loved it when I could straighten it. And then I started to get sick of it, and I wished for long hair. And now I have long hair and I'm wishing for short hair. But I used my new Dyson Air Straight for the first time today to do my hair. And I'm not sure if I like it. I mean, it's just straight. And it was really easy to use, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I'm not 100% feeling myself right now. And I'm gonna go turn on the AC because I feel it getting hot. So we have no special drink or anything today. We just have a Stanley cup full of ice because I'm dehydrated. And I was just screenshotting the questions, and they are so good. But before we get into the questions, I thought it would be fun to start with a little life update, because I feel like I have been so scattered and so all over the place since coming back from my trip to France, which was so amazing, by the way. Like that's where I want to start, is with that trip and how simply fantastic it was. I feel like it started the summer off on the perfect foot. We were gone from like the beginning of June to the middle of June, and it just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It just cast like a rosy golden hour glow over the rest of the summer, because I've just been feeling so happy and grateful. If you guys missed the vlogs, I went to France with my family. It was my stepmom, who is no longer with my dad, my brother, my sister, and my stepmom's partner. And then JS joined us halfway through. And I feel like as we get older, it can be harder and harder to find opportunities to be the whole family together. And my brother currently lives in Europe. I live in Montreal. My sister lives in Ottawa. So it's pretty rare that the three siblings are all together. And it was so magical for us to be able to spend time together and just kind of like not get to know each other, but get to know each other deeper now that we're older. Because of course, when we were young, we spent so much time together, and it was just really fun to like hang out as three adults with my siblings. Plus spending some quality time with my parents. I've never really traveled that much with my parents. I've had a few travel opportunities with my dad and with my stepmom. They actually both came to visit me when I was in Australia, but we've never traveled as like a big family unit out of the country before, and it was just such a special experience. And yeah, like I said, I feel like it's just it put me in such a great mood for the rest of summer. So speaking of that trip to France, I want to introduce you guys to today's sponsor, which is Airalo. Before even knowing that I would have the opportunity to work with Airalo on a sponsored video, I used them as my eSIM provider so that I could have cell service while I was on vacation in France. So let me break it down for you, and honestly, listen up, because this is going to be so helpful for you guys the next time you travel out of your home country. If you've ever used your phone while traveling out of the country, even if it's just by accident, you've likely been hit with a hefty phone bill, something like $20 for the day just because you accidentally opened Instagram. Yeah, that's happened to me before. International roaming charges are absolutely insane, and Airalo eSIMs are here to solve that problem. So an eSIM is like a SIM card. It's what goes in, where even is it? You guys, my phone doesn't even have it anymore. So wait, is it this? No. Okay, so on older models of phones, remember there was that little slot and it pops out and there's a little chip. So an eSIM is like that little SIM, but without the actual card. So you download the Airalo app, then you select the country that you will be traveling to. You can look through all of the different options and purchase the right SIM for your needs based on how long you're gonna be away for and how much calling, texting, and data you may want. You then follow some very easy steps to get the SIM loaded onto your phone, and then you can use your phone abroad for a fraction of the price. I had heard about Airalo from someone that I follow on Instagram and wanted to try it out on my trip to the south of France because I knew we'd be exploring a lot, and I figured I would want to have access to my maps but also to post on Instagram. I also just feel like when you're traveling internationally, it's really nice to have access to your messages, to be able to Wi-Fi call people, just for a sense of security, and also to kind of figure out where you're going and have that independence while you're traveling. So I purchased something like 10 gigs of data. It cost me about $30 Canadian, and I didn't even come close to using up all of the data. $30 is pretty much how much it costs to use your phone for 1 or 2 days with my service provider. And with Airalo, there are plans that start as low as $7 for 7 days. So it's so much more affordable. While we were in France, my stepdad turned on his phone for 1 day because he was going off by himself. He turned his phone on for 1 day. It cost him $20 to use his roaming. And I was like, you could have just gotten an eSIM for like a fraction of the price. But anyway, that's why it's worth it to arrive prepared with your eSIM from Airalo. And the best part is that they have options for over 200 countries worldwide. All right, now let me tell you, the best part is that you can do all of this from home. Download the app, purchase your SIM at home, follow all of the steps and load it onto your phone at home or at the airport. And then as soon as you touch down in whatever country you are headed off to, it's literally like magic. Your phone flips over to the eSIM and you can start using your phone in that country. So you guys, whether you have a trip coming up or you have trips that you are dreaming about, I highly recommend downloading the Airalo app today. That way you don't forget and you will be ready to go when that next trip pops up on your horizon. The app is free to download, and if you use my code, you will save $3 off your first purchase. Like I just talked about, I have such amazing memories from my trip to France, and I'm so glad that a nasty phone bill isn't a part of those memories. I can't wait for my next trip, and I will honestly be using Airalo again and again because it was so easy and so affordable, which is why I am so excited to be working with them on this video. Thank you so much to Airalo for sponsoring this video, and you guys don't forget to check them out down below. So we came back from France, and it took me about a week to like adjust to just being back home and kind of get over the jet lag. And then honestly, at the beginning, things were quite slow for me work-wise, and I was really feeling pulled in like a bunch of different directions between copywriting, YouTube, and my bar instructor job. I was also taking on a lot of substitutions because people were traveling, and so people had covered me. I was trying to repay the favor, and I feel like YouTube just kind of took a back seat. I felt like I had spent a lot on my trip and I wanted to make back some of that money. So I was like trying to pump out that copywriting and trying to get back into the flow of things and teach some classes. I feel like all summer I've been playing catch up with my YouTube videos, and I've just been really off my editing game. Like even with the France vlogs, it took me weeks to edit them. Like I film and I'm so excited and I love filming, and then I just don't really have the motivation to edit because editing takes a really long time, especially lately. You guys have maybe noticed I've been putting out really long videos, like even up to an hour. And yeah, it just takes hours and hours for me to edit, like literally so much time. I'm starting to think like, do I need to upgrade my computer and upgrade my software, because I still just use the basic iMovie because like it works for me, but I'm starting to be like, maybe if I use Final Cut or a different software, like it'll be faster. because yeah, I just spend so much time editing and I love it. Like I don't mind sitting there spending the time. It's just sometimes it's hard when it's like, okay, you have a copywriting deadline and you have a class to build and you know, you're just pulled in different directions. I mean, whatever it may be, whatever, you know, everyone watching is gonna have different priorities, but I'm sure people can relate to like feeling pulled in different directions. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm sorry that I feel like I haven't been the best YouTuber. I also know that I haven't been the best at replying to comments, which is something that I usually take really great pride in, is that I like to sit down and answer comments and interact with you guys. And I just feel like I haven't been doing that as much this summer, but I do know, like, I just have this strong feeling that when fall, like September comes around, I'm gonna get my shit together and I'm gonna be, you know, back on my grind and back on my game. And I guess, you know, the flip side of feeling like I've been a little bit slower this summer is that I have just been enjoying life a lot more. And at the beginning of the summer, late spring, I kind of opened up about like productivity, like addiction, and always feeling this need to be productive. And I feel like I've kind of flipped it the other way where I'm a lot more chill now. Like I do not let myself work at night very often anymore, where I used to force myself to work at night almost every night. And I really try not to work on the weekends anymore, aside from teaching bar, where I used to force myself to work on the weekends all the time. So yeah, it's funny because I'm like, oh, my income's gone down and oh, I feel less productive, but I really cut out a lot of working hours so that I can go enjoy life. And overall, I'm much happier. I'm just like, I need to find a little bit more balance, just a little bit more balance, more towards the productive side, because it does make me feel good and we got bills to pay, we got goals to hit. But overall, I'm feeling very happy and content, you guys. I just wish that I could be a little bit more like, I want to do more on YouTube because it's always my passion. It's always so fun. So yeah, those are my little rambles. I feel like those are my biggest life updates, is just like feeling kind of pulled all over the place and not feeling super productive, but feeling excited to get back on my game. I haven't been feeling very goal oriented or anything. I've been feeling very like home, chill. I've really been enjoying my little life makeover series because I feel like the apartment, now it's been over a year that I live here and it's really just coming together so well. For the most part, I enjoy working from home. However, lately I've started to have the office itch again. I don't know if I will act on it, but I don't miss that office, but I miss having an office. I don't regret getting rid of that office because honestly, it was just like trouble after trouble after trouble. But I wish I had a place that I could go and see some more people and just interact with people a little bit more. Haven't been going to coffee shops that much either lately, which is maybe why I'm starting to have that feeling. I guess the last life update is that I'm 28 now, which I know it's not old, okay? Like I know it's not old, but I definitely do feel myself getting older, and 28 is like creeping close to 30, and I feel like there's a lot of pressure that comes with the number 30, and I'm definitely in that age range where I feel like every time I open up a social media app, people are getting married, people who are younger than me are getting married, so many weddings. Like I just feel like I'm surrounded by engagements and weddings. And then now the babies are also starting to come. And so I am neither engaged nor pregnant. And I don't feel behind and I don't feel like pressure. It's just funny to be so surrounded by it because it can definitely influence the way that you feel. Even like one of my favorite influencers like just had a baby and I'm like, oh, like the whole time she was pregnant, I was like, oh, what would it be like to be pregnant? Like, so the people and the content that you surround yourself with really do have an impact on your life and the way that you're thinking. And so if everyone around you is getting married, like you think about weddings a lot. And I actually feel like there was a period where it was all about engagements. And so I felt like I really wanted to be engaged. Now it's all about the wedding and I don't really like want a wedding right now. So that's definitely like calmed down. But I'm gonna be honest, you guys, like the baby fever is taking over. Like where I used to think about engagement rings all the time, like now I think about baby names and stuff like that. And I definitely just think it's because of the media and the media that I consume and that's targeted to me. Yeah. So with all of that being said, let's get into our first question from Owana H99. Hey Zoe, I was wondering if you plan to buy a house/apartment in the near future, or if you did, what would be your plan to save up? Love your videos. Heart. Thank you. So I guess it just depends what you mean by near future. If near future is 1 year, definitely not. If it's 2 years, like maybe, probably looking like 2 to 5 year range. Buying a house for me is so scary, and it's a little bit of like a sore spot for, it's a bit of a sore spot for me at the moment, because I just feel, and like, of course, like, you know, if I were to be buying a property, I'd be doing it with JS. I just feel like we can't afford anything, and it's kind of discouraging. And it's a tricky thing. And I'm sure a lot of people who live in a city and you're young and you want to start buying a property and you want to even buy like a home, like buying a condo, to me already feels like right now it feels, buying a condo feels far away but not impossible. But buying a home with like a yard and a front door feels impossible. And I'm sure a lot of people in the city can relate to this feeling where it's like you love the city that you live in, especially if you're more in like the center core of that city. But housing prices in cities across Canada, across North America, I'm sure in Europe and, you know, across the world, from what I've seen, it's so expensive everywhere. And so the reality is, at least for me, it's like if I want a house with a yard and a front door, it's going to be really, really, really difficult to get that in the core of Montreal. In the neighborhood that I currently live in, it's basically impossible. Like there just aren't any really homes in this neighborhood that I live in. And the homes that are here are so expensive, it feels out of the question. So buying a house also means giving up a certain lifestyle, because it means probably moving to the suburbs or to the smaller towns around the city. That was like a really roundabout way of saying, like, if I want to buy a house, it means I'd have to move, and that is scary. Right now, I can walk or bike or have a really short drive to anything I need. Anything I need is so close, and seeing friends is so close and easy, and moving out of the city would change all of that. And that feels scary, and I don't know if I'm ready for that lifestyle change yet. There's days where I feel like I hate the city and I want to get away from it. And then I'm pretty sure that if I were to move tomorrow to like the suburbs, let's say, I think I'd be really bored, and I think I'd miss that city action. So to answer this question, no, there's not really a plan. I'm saving up for when we find something that we love. I know JS is saving up. We're not saving up together because we just don't meld our finances. We're not married or anything. But I know that that's a goal that both of us have, and we love looking online at houses together and seeing like what would our dream house look like. And I feel like in a way we're kind of visualizing and manifesting for one day having that dream home. But the reality is that I don't think it's going to be in Montreal. And I don't even think it's going to be in the direct suburbs of Montreal, because I'm not really a suburb girl. I actually think we're going to go like small town, an hour outside of Montreal, which is, like I said, a huge lifestyle change. When it comes to saving for that home, I just think of my investments as savings for the home. So in Canada, your RRSP, your retirement savings account, you can take money out of your RRSP without a penalty. You do have to pay it back, but you can use it for your first home purchase. I'm not eligible for the FHSA, which is another great option. If you live in Canada, it's like a fusion of the tax-free savings and the retirement savings. It's FHSA stands for first time homeowners savings account, something like that. But I'm not eligible for it because I live with my partner who owns his home. If I didn't, that's what I'd be doing. I don't know if my strategy is good. Like, I guess I should have long-term investments and maybe more short-term, but like I said, it all just feels so far away. And when I look at the prices of homes, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how am I ever gonna come up with that much money anyways? Which makes it not super motivating to save, but I know that's a bad attitude. Okay, that was like a really long-winded answer. Let's do some like quick ones. So from Lovely Rose 1125, what car did you buy? Are you planning on traveling this summer? What are your financial plans this summer? How are things going in your other jobs? Do you plan on traveling this summer with your boyfriend? So the car that I bought was a 2015 Volkswagen Tiguan, literally the same thing that I used to have, just with a different color exterior and interior. That car is treating me great so far. We just did a nice big road trip with it, and I'm very, very happy with that car. It's nice because it feels different. Even though it's the same car that I used to have, because the colors are different, it feels different, and I plan on keeping this car for a long time. In terms of summer travels, I'm not really planning anything else just because I don't want to spend the money on further travels. I'm so happy with the trip that I got to take to France that I don't have any other like itches. I'm just more so thinking, okay, what do I want to do next summer? Maybe some trip in the fall, like within Canada. I don't really want to travel outside of Canada for a little while just to save money. Traveling to the States is so fun, but so expensive because our dollar sucks. But I am thinking maybe a trip to like Calgary, Banff area in the fall time could be great, but there's nothing concrete. It's just a little dream that I have. In terms of financial plans, I feel like my savings has sucked this summer, and I feel like I've so been off my financial goals game. At the beginning of the year, I started that journey to 100K, and I feel like I was doing great with my investments. I was so confident, and this summer, like last month, I didn't even put money into savings, or investments. I just didn't. I didn't have enough leftover income after all of my spending to be able to put money towards my savings and investments. And I'm not proud of that, but it's real and it happens sometimes. I feel like I don't really know where to direct my goals and my energy right now. I'm so grateful that I took care of myself and that my debt is paid off and my emergency fund is filled, because that gives me peace of mind. And I just feel like when I'm able to get my income back up, then I will start to think again about like, okay, what do I want my goals to be? But I guess my overall big goal, that even though I'm slowed down on my progress of this goal, my goal remains the same of building my net worth to $100,000. And from there, building it to net investments of $100,000. So taking out my emergency fund, not including my car, stuff like that. That'll be a really big milestone for me. So that's exciting. And the cool thing about that is when I made that video, so many people said like your first 100,000 is the hardest. And then like you keep going and you build this momentum. And I'm really excited for that. So how are things going in my other jobs? I feel like I'm finally getting steady when it comes to teaching bar. I at first felt like it was so hard and I was putting so many hours into it and financially not getting that much back. Like I would put 5 hours into making a class and I'd make $50. Like that wasn't the best. But now I've gotten more experience. It's been almost a year since over a year since I started my training. In November, it's gonna be a year since I started teaching. And now things are becoming more natural. Now it takes me, I'm gonna be honest, it still takes me about an hour to make a class, which is, I think, longer than most, but I really put like a lot. I think this is something about me. Like I put a lot into everything that I do. If it's my videos, like I try and be really, detail oriented and perfectionist with my editing. And with my classes, I try and be so intentional with the music that I'm playing and like the vibe in the class and the movements that we're doing. I don't just throw stuff together and be like, here you go. Like I really put my all into the things. Oh, Maggie's shaking. You want to come here? I really put my all into the things that I love, and that makes them take a little bit more time. So luckily though, I'm starting to get to the point where I do feel more comfortable teaching bar, and I do have little hacks that help me save time. Like I will use the same playlist for all 4 of my classes. I'll reuse some movements because it's very rare that anyone takes the same class multiple times in a week because I teach at different studios. So it's always different people. So I can reuse that playlist, no problem. So that's been great. I now have 4 classes and I feel very comfortable with that. I don't think I want any more unless I could teach another class on the same day. For example, I'd love to have another class on Tuesday or another class on Saturday, but I don't want another day of teaching. Like I'm very happy there. So that's great. Starting to feel so comfortable and it's just so fun. Like I just love it. Copywriting's going well. I spoke a little while ago about how I kind of took a step back from my copywriting client, and I've basically taken a whole step forward at this point. I don't know if I ever really told the story, but I tried to quit altogether. Not because I didn't like it or anything. I just wanted to focus on other things. And I kind of regretted it when I gave 4 weeks notice. I kind of instantly regretted it just because I love working with them. I love them as people and I do really enjoy the copywriting work that I do. It's obviously not as exhilarating and fun as filming a YouTube video or making a bar class, but in terms of like a desk working situation, like it's pretty great and I do enjoy it. So I kind of regretted it when I gave that 4 weeks notice, but I was like, oh, there's no turning back. I helped them find a new copywriter to take over some of my duties. And then my boss ended up asking me to stay on for like what we call special projects, just because I have a good understanding of the company, a good understanding of him and the writing style that he likes. And I was like, okay, it's a sign like that they're asking me to stay. So I stayed on. From that point, it was pretty minimal. Like there wasn't a ton of work to do, but we've since ramped it up and I'm basically back, not completely to the workload that I was at before, but getting close. And I'm definitely happy about that. Like I'm happy for the work and I'm grateful for the income, but now that I also have bar on my plate, it does mean a lot of kind of balls in the air to juggle, or whatever that expression is. But it's going well. And then YouTube, if we want to talk about it as a job, I feel like this has been one of my best summers yet in terms of like views and engagements and still growing my channel. We hit 60K this summer, which is like so exciting. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like I've been getting a lot of love from you guys and you've been enjoying the videos, which makes me so happy. Like there's nothing more that I could ask for than that you guys resonate with the videos that I'm putting out and they keep you company and they maybe inspire you, and like that just makes me so happy. Sponsorships have been few and far between. You guys have probably noticed this is like my first sponsored video in a while. I don't know if that has to do with the economy. I don't know if that has to do with the season. We shall see. Like I'm expecting things in terms of sponsorships and also in terms of like AdSense dollars to pick up in the fall, and then especially as we near like Christmas and then New Year's. If they don't, it's definitely a sign of the economy, but I'm not gonna stop. Like I just love doing this and I'm lucky that I have other sources of income to basically allow me to do this. Like copywriting pays the bills so that I can sit here and film these videos for you guys. All right, so speaking of money, from Triasria Gaba, I'm sorry, there's no way I said that right. Hi Zoe, do you mind sharing more about your gentle productivity journals? Did you make money from selling them? You didn't say much in terms of earning during your money videos, just being curious. So great question, and I'm happy to talk about it. I love to just be transparent. So the first round of gentle productivity, the ones that launched back in November, we actually did not make very much money from them at all. So these journals are a kind of These journals are a collaboration with the line. Basically, the line took care of the manufacturing, and she has like the, what do you call them? She has the contacts, she has the suppliers to physically make the journal. I had the logo made. I had it made by a graphic designer here in Montreal. The line and I basically like did a rough sketch of what the inside pages would look like, what my dream planner would be, and then she used her skills to digitize it and make it look fantastic. We chose the font together and everything. So the design was really a collaboration. She then took care of the manufacturing, getting that all done, and then I took care of the bulk of the promotion and just kind of sharing it with my audience. So we decided to do a 50-50 collab and split everything 50-50. However, in the first round, there were so many expenses that we just kind of didn't not that we didn't foresee them, but that we didn't integrate into the price. Things like the photo shoot, renting space for the photo shoot, me getting over to Vancouver. All of that costs money, and whenever you buy any product, if it's like a Stanley or whatever, you know, the photo shoot for this Stanley is integrated into the price of this Stanley. The price of operating the website is integrated into the price of this Stanley. So we didn't integrate enough into the price of the journal the first time around. If you guys have ordered a gentle productivity journal, or if you've ordered anything from the line, it comes so beautifully wrapped. It comes in a gorgeous box. It comes wrapped. It comes with a card. We sent out stickers, and all of those things also cost money, and we didn't factor any of that either into the price of the journal. So we pretty much netted out at $0 that first time around. Of course, there was income from the sales, but all of the expenses that we had related to the creation of the journal, plus like creating the actual thing, we have to order them from the manufacturer, that costs money as well. So we definitely miscalculated, and like I said, the first round, we probably, I don't think we lost. I never really like sat down and calculated it out, because for the first round, I really just saw it as a learning opportunity. If I made any money from that, it was probably only a couple $100s, to be honest with you guys. I might have even lost money. I'm not sure. That is why we had to raise the prices of the journals the second time around. A few people asked me like, oh, they seem to have gone up in price. Like, why is that? And that's because, like I said, we had basically just mispriced them the first time around. They were not priced high enough to cover all of our expenses. So the second time around, we were able to make a better profit from it, and we split that profit 50-50. We also split all of the expenses 50-50. So the shipping costs, the the stickers, everything like that. I've seen people get upset with influencer products and how expensive they are. No one really got upset with me. There were a few people who were like, just kind of, they were very nice about it, and they're just like, love the planner, but like it's not in my budget right now. And I totally get it. It's a more expensive planner than if you were to go to Walmart or to go to Indigo. And that's because we're not Walmart and we're not Indigo. We're not ordering hundreds of thousands of units of a certain planner that then drives the price down. We're ordering just a couple hundred. So that's why when you order from a small business or from an influencer, it can tend to be more expensive. There are probably unfortunately influencers out there who just charge like exorbitant amounts for their things because they know people are going to buy it. It was important to us that we price these journals fairly, but that we can also make a profit from it because it's a business. And so we just kind of had to find that balance. And yeah, I know that they were a little more expensive than if you were to drive down to Walmart, but you're getting a real work of love, and you're getting something that only a few hundred other people in the world have, as opposed to many, many thousands from the Walmarts across the way. So means a lot. So yeah, that's been such an exciting project for me, and I don't see it being done. We actually still have some stock right now, which I think is great, so that when it comes to back to school, we will be able to have more stock, and then we will see from there if we keep launching it, if people still want it, we'll see how it goes. From Elizabeth Thompson, 1525, how are you budgeting for your family trip to Europe? Is JS going? What is the itinerary? Love the travel vlogs. So how did I budget for that trip? I didn't really budget very much or very well for that trip. The one thing I did was I bought my airplane ticket far in advance. It cost a little bit under $900, and I took money from my vacation savings and I bought that ticket well in advance. From there, I did not budget for the trip. I just kind of spent whatever like I wanted, which is not the best way to operate. I think I might have had a little bit of vacation savings left, but definitely not much. Now, I am really lucky that for this trip, my parents did cover the cost of the Airbnb. So usually when you're traveling, your biggest expenses would be your plane ticket and your travel, and then wherever you're staying. So I had one of those big expenses removed thanks to the generosity of my family. When it comes to budgeting for a trip in general, what I like to do is use my vacation sinking fund. So I have a savings account with Wealthsimple where I just put money aside. I try and put money aside every month, or I try and just fill it up to $2,000. Lately, I haven't been able to fill it, but I try and just save up about $2,000 or more if I know that I'm going to be going on like a huge trip, but so far it's never been more. And then I will use that money to cover my trip. I'll also try and look before I go. So like before we go to Florida, for example, JS and I will sit down and we'll say, okay, how much around do we want to spend on food? How much around do we want to spend on working out? How much around do we want to spend on coffee? Like we'll think about the things we want to do and just set kind of like a ballpark budget. That way we don't go crazy and go out for dinner every night or go out for coffee 5 times a day, stuff like that. If you guys haven't seen the travel vlogs yet, you can watch them. There are 2. We spent 2 weeks there, so I made 2 different travel vlogs, and JS joined us halfway through, so he's in part 2. Music, movies, trailers 1 asks thoughts on balancing the 2 things. Buying things that can give you better quality of life and confidence versus being smart with your money and saving money. So I think it all just really comes down to balance. I was just thinking about this the other day of how I bought a Hatch alarm clock, which is such an expensive alarm clock, but I use it every single day and I love it so much. And I was thinking to myself, like, am I happy that I bought this? Was it worth the money? And I can honestly say yes. When it comes to like pulling the trigger and actually buying something that you think is going to improve your quality of life, like it can hurt. It's like, oh, these running shoes are so expensive. Like, oh, the Hatch is so expensive. But if you actually use it, then I think it's worth it. If you think to yourself, okay, the Hatch was about $200. That's less than $1 a day if you only use it for a year, but realistically, I'm gonna use it for 2, 3, 4 years, which drives the price down tremendously. Yes, it's more expensive than using your phone or, you know, some alarm clock that you buy on Amazon, but if it adds to your life, then I think it's worth it. Should you go into debt to buy a Hatch alarm clock? No, probably not. But I do think little splurges here and there that actually make your life better. Another great example is a gym membership. I know a lot of people who are like, just work out outside, just work out at home. Like gym memberships are so expensive. The studio that I work at and give classes at, it's expensive to have a monthly membership there. Like it's definitely expensive. But if you go multiple times a week and this is the thing that you love, it is so worth it. I've had gym memberships that I was paying for just like a kind of community gym, and I never went. And that's the most expensive gym membership I ever had. As opposed to paying a little bit or a lot more, but actually going and coming out of a bar class and feeling fantastic, that feeling is priceless. And so I think it's worth it. So if you have the money, and I think that is like the key thing here, is if you have the money, if you can fit it into your budget, if you can afford it, these splurges that add to your life, as long as they actually add to your life, can be a great thing. The slippery slope is thinking that every single little thing out there adds to your life. Like, oh, I need 5 Stanley Cups because they're gonna make my life better. Like, no, you probably only need 1, if that. If you buy a pair of Lululemon leggings to motivate you to get to the gym and you love those leggings, you only need 1 to maybe 3 pairs. You don't need 10 pairs of those leggings. So balance really is the key word here, and just moderation, and just buying these things that add to your life in moderation, and making sure you really think about them and making sure you can afford them. I don't think there are many things that are that worth going into debt for, especially if that debt is gonna take away from your quality of life because you're always worried about it. Or just worried about your finances in general. Like, you shouldn't be buying a Hatch alarm clock and then not being able to sleep, and you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're all stressed. Like, don't buy the alarm clock then. You know what I mean? On the other hand, I think never buying anything and just being so frugal, and like, some people that makes them happy and they love that, and then that's fantastic. But if you are always depriving yourself and never treating yourself and never spending your money to the point where it makes you miserable, and all you do is just sit at home and like watch Netflix, and that's the only thing you ever let yourself buy is your Netflix subscription, like, that's not necessarily a wonderful quality of life either. But everyone's different. Everyone's different. Okay, we're gonna move away from the money questions. It's so funny because these questions all came from YouTube, and they're very like finance, goals, money related. When I post on Instagram for my Q&As, I get a lot more like friendship, life, love. So it's really funny, like the two kind of different crowds. But this question is from Laguna26. She says, hi Zoe, what is your all-time favorite book and why? So I have 2. My number 1 all-time favorite book, I would say these 2 are like tied for number 1, but maybe this one's like a little bit more favorite, is Fall on Your Knees by Anne-Marie MacDonald. Such a beautiful book, like so good. It's definitely a little bit dark, but it's just so beautifully written. It takes you on like a multi-year journey, and I love stories just about like life and family and women. Like, I love reading about women. I love reading about like women's lives and like women in family and just like their stories. And this is obviously fiction. It's not like a real story, but it feels very real. And yeah, I actually got to meet the author because they turned this book into a play. And I went in Ottawa last year to see the play, and Anne-Marie MacDonald was there signing books, and that was one of like the most special nights. Why do I want to cry when I talk about it? But it was such a special night because I went with my mom and JS, and seeing my favorite book come to life in the theater and then meeting the author, it was amazing. Talking about this night makes me want to cry. You guys, it was a 2-part play because the book is so long, and they like didn't want to cut anything out, so it was a 2-part play. And when the second part of the play ended and like it was like curtain, that's it, it's over, I was bawling. I was bawling my eyes out. It's just such a beautiful and sad, but also heartwarming at times story. And yeah. From Holly, she says, kind of random, but really keen to hear what it's like living in such a cold place. I live in Queensland, Australia, and it's only cold about 4 months of the year. So yeah, living in a cold place is funny. I mean, we have cold, okay, it's cold November, December, January, February, March, and even into April. Like, it's pretty cold. Like 5 to 6 months of the year, there can be snow on the ground. It can be below freezing. Like, it's cold. And I mean, on one hand, it's nice having all 4 seasons. On the other hand, I personally don't love the cold. I wish I lived in Queensland or somewhere where it was hot all the time. Like, I think that would be my ideal climate. Snow is really beautiful, and when you're home inside and it's snowing, it can be really beautiful. But the downside of that is like when it gets a little bit warmer and then it melts and it gets all slushy, and they have to put salt or stones on the road to like make you not slip. In the winter time, it can get dark at like 4 p.m. So you're still working and you look outside. Like, I remember when I worked corporate and I was working at the office, I'd still be working and I'd still have like 1 to 2 hours left of work, and it'd be like pitch black outside, and I'd be like, great. So that can definitely take a toll on people's mental health. I think people can be a lot more down and depressed in the winter months, and then we get to come to life in the summer. But the cold can also have its perks. I know a lot of people really love the cold and they love the snow. My friend Michaela, she loves winter. She's a winter girl. I personally think winter in the city sucks like a lot, versus winter in the countryside could be a lot more fun and exciting. You can do so many winter activities that we don't really have easy access to in the city. Things like skating, snowshoeing, skiing, whether that's cross country or downhill. There's definitely ways to make the most of winter, and I try my best, I really do. I think having a dog helps because it forces me to go outside in the winter even when I don't want to. But living in an apartment on those nights where it's like -30 and I have to take Maggie out and I'm like freezing and I'm like, please go poo, please go poo, please go poo. And I just want to come back inside because the wind is like stinging my face, and it's even bad for the dogs to be outside when it's that cold. Like, it's crazy. But I know the opposite is true. Like, I have a friend who lives in Phoenix in Arizona, and for her, it's like the summertime is like, it's as extreme with the heat as it is for us in the winter with the cold. Like, they can't go outside in the peak of daytime because it's the desert and it's way too hot. So she has to take her dog out early morning and late at night when it cools down a bit. And people just don't even really go outside in the middle of the day because it's too hot. We kind of have that with the cold. I'd love to know, where is the place on earth with like just the best weather, like the ultimate best weather? Like, where is it? Let me know. From Kayla Celeste 2948, any advice on moving in with your boyfriend for the first time? Love your videos. Thank you. Okay, I think I've said this before, but my number one best advice that was given to me that I will give to you is make sure to keep the love alive. It's so easy to just slip into habits and just become roommates and to be like nagging on each other, and you know, you're at your desk or you're watching TV and your partner comes home and they're like hey, and you're like hey. The best advice that was given to me was to always get up and greet your partner when they come in the door, give them a hug, give them a kiss. How was your day? Like, even if you're busy, it's like, take a second to acknowledge this person, and physical touch and like just a kiss and a hug can go a really long way. So when they come in, to do that, and also when they leave, instead of being like, you know, sitting on the couch on your phone, oh, bye. It's like, get up, hug, goodbye, tell them you love them. That's something that we try and do a lot, and I really feel like it just keeps things feeling nice and special. Wow, my memory card died, and I've been sitting cross-legged for too long. But yeah, just make sure, I think it's just important to make sure that you guys still cherish each other and still show you guys that you care about each other, and that it's not just like your random roommate that you're like, oh, hi. Something else more recently that's helped JS and I a lot is having kind of like designated chores or tasks in the house. So I have taken on the laundry, and it's just easier that way to have like one person doing one dedicated thing. He takes care of like the vacuuming and the floors, and he also takes care of a lot of the cooking, especially for breakfast. So in the morning, he gets on breakfast and I will get on the laundry. There's definitely other tasks that we split and that we share, but having little things where you're like, this is my task, and you can like take ownership, as they would say at work. You take ownership of that task. It can remove some of the stress and some of the questioning of like, why didn't you do the laundry? Why didn't you do the laundry? Oh, who's making breakfast? You know, it's just kind of nice, and it can help things in the house like flow a bit easier. It's like when you were a kid and you had like your assigned chores, like you do that with your boyfriend for both of you, and make sure that it's fair too, so that not one person's doing more of the work. Like, I know for a while JS was doing like all of the cooking, and he started to feel a bit resentful because he was like, okay, like it'd be nice if you do some of the cooking sometime. And so also just communicating with one another and making sure that everyone is contributing equally to the home, or in whatever way works for you, so that no one's resentful on either side. New guy 2024. This is the question on everyone's lips. Maggie seemed to love having a second dog around. Have you considered getting a second dog to help with managing separation anxiety? Yes, I have thought about it. I used to think about it all the time. I was like convinced that this would solve the problem. I also just love the idea of having two dogs, because you love one, you love two. But the unfortunate truth is that having a second dog would not help with her separation anxiety. We've tried it while babysitting other dogs, and she was still anxious. I I understand that maybe if she really had a friend for a longer period of time, she would settle down. But speaking about it, I spoke about it with a trainer and then I read about it a few different places, and the kind of consensus was like, it's more likely that the anxious dog makes the second dog anxious as well than the second dog calms down the anxious dog. So unfortunately, it's just not the solution. It's also such a big undertaking. It's a big undertaking to get one dog, and then it's also a big undertaking to get a second, and it's not something that I would want to enter into too lightly, because unfortunately with dogs there are no economies of scale. It's double the food, double the vet bills. If you need to get the dog boarded or babysat, it's double the price. Like there's no real savings when it comes to having more than one dog. Like maybe they share toys, but that's like the least of the expenses. When we went to Colombia, this was a little while ago, we went to Colombia for 2 weeks and we had Maggie watched the entire time. And I think we spent about $600 getting her watched. That was so much money and such a big expense when it came to that trip that I'm just like, what if that was two? Like if we had 2 dogs, it would have cost $1,200 to get both dogs watched. And like, that's insane. And it's just not an expense that I'm ready to take on right now. I would love to have 2 dogs, and I'm sure we're gonna have 2 dogs one day, but I think it's gonna be down the line when we're in a stage of life, maybe with kids, that we're just home a lot more. But yeah, unfortunately for her anxiety, it's not the answer. And then just for life right now, it's also not really a possibility. From Cat Whipple, I know it's only May, no, it's August, but would you consider doing something like Vlogmas this year? I really would. I tried to do Vlogmas a few years ago and it made me lose subscribers, and I was busting my ass to put out a video every day, and then I was just losing subscribers, and I was like, well, so I don't know if I would do it again. It's also just so much work. It would have to be, I would do it if I could take the time off copywriting. Like if I took the month of December off of copywriting and I put all of my energy into YouTube, then I could do it. So that might be an option. Let me know if you guys would like that, because you guys need to watch. If I'm gonna do the work, I need you guys to watch. From Poke Beans, would you consider coming to Toronto for a meet and greet? Yes, I really wanna do this. Whenever I go to Toronto, I get so many DMs and comments from people being like, I live in Toronto, I live in Toronto, I live in Toronto. So I really wanna do a meetup in Toronto, probably honestly before Montreal, because no subscribers come to my bar classes. So I'm like, no one's gonna come to a meetup if I do it here. But I feel like the girlies would come out in Toronto. So I really want to do that. I think it'd be fun to do like a Pilates and journaling. That's kind of the meetup vibe I'm thinking of. Let me know if I should do it in Toronto. Let me know if I should do it in Vancouver. Should I do it in Montreal? Because again, people got to show up. Like if I'm going to do it, I need people to show up, because if I just am standing there alone, I'm going to be really sad. From Let's Circle Back Games, are there any skills or particular knowledge that you learned from your consulting jobs that helped you when you made your career transition to freelance/YouTube? Definitely. I can't think of anything like concretely. The number one thing I think I learned from consulting is prioritizing, and it's actually something that I still struggle with. I'm going to be honest, you guys, I don't feel like I was in consulting for long enough to learn any concrete skills. I think most of my skills that apply to YouTube I learned in university, and specifically in my case competition extracurricular, which was basically mock consulting that I did while I was in university. And that was a lot of public speaking. I really strengthened my public speaking skills and just kind of like storytelling skills, speaking in an engaging manner. I learned a lot about that through that extracurricular, which I was then supposed to bring that into consulting, but I was never really client facing in consulting. Like I was the intern. I was about to be rude and say I was the bitch taking notes. But yeah, I was taking notes, and I wasn't like, I didn't have any great opportunities. That's why I'm not in consulting anymore, is because the opportunities that were promised to me were never delivered. And yeah, but actually I will say a lot of the business knowledge that I learned, also again, more so from university, I use a lot in my copywriting work. And some of the stuff I learned in tech consulting, like the HR and those protocols, I do use in my freelance copywriting work as well. Just for this specific client, I do a lot of like very corporate stuff. And I think my consulting background helps a bit. Okay, we're gonna do 2 more questions. These ones are really good from Marie Lalitas. She said, I wanna upgrade my car, but I also wanna take the kids on vacation. Do you have any advice on how to prioritize which is more important, creating memories or driving a new car? Definitely creating memories. I remember my mom never had a car growing up, and my dad would always drive like the scrappiest car around. Like we had so many different cars and they were always so scrappy. Like I remember there was one, it was a red Ford station wagon, and my dad like backed up into something or bumped into something. It must have been frontwards bump because the front bumper fell off and they didn't have any more red bumpers, so it had a white bumper. Like it just didn't match. And yeah, when I was a kid, like I was embarrassed because I went to school with people whose parents would drop them off in Audis and BMWs. And I was like, oh, you know, the minivan so ugly, the station wagon so ugly. But now I just look back fondly and like, it actually doesn't matter. Like I would not be a happier person today because my dad drove me to school in a BMW. Like no one cares. We didn't get to travel that much either when I was a kid, but I know that that's something that I would look back so fondly on, so much more fondly than a nice car to go to school in. So I would take your kids on vacation, but that's just me. I guess the thing to preface is like, is your car safe? Like the car should be safe. And then from there, I would pick the memories because your kids are going to be so thankful for that looking back. And they're even going to be thankful. They're going to be like, you know what? I'm thankful that my mom drove that beat up minivan because it got us around and we still got to go to Disneyland or wherever you want to take them on vacation. I'm sure they're going to be happy. Okay, last question. This one is so juicy. How do you think PR has changed your consumption and budget? Do you think getting free clothing items has helped you save money? So, really good question. And I definitely had to think about this one a little bit. I remember seeing that when she asked and I was like, whoa, good question. The short answer would probably be yes, it helps me save a little bit of money. But at the same time, it does something weird, and this is gonna sound really bad and really shallow, but have you guys ever noticed around Christmas time, you maybe know you're gonna be getting gifts, but you getting gifts still makes you wanna shop. Like you know someone's gonna give you a gift for Christmas, but then you also go shopping on Boxing Day. Sometimes PR can have that effect on me where it's like I receive something and then I'm like, oh, I need to go get a matching top to go with it, or oh, like, it kind of keeps you in that consumption mood and makes me want to shop more. I think I actually save more money on skincare PR than on clothing PR because when it comes to skincare and stuff, that is not the area where I typically like to spend. So I will receive a product as PR and I'm so happy and I'm so grateful for it and I just use it. Like I just use it. However, with clothes sometimes I'm so happy for it, but like I still want more because I'm just like a clothing addict and I'm never satisfied when it comes to clothes. The other thing with clothing PR, because you guys, like, let's not beat around the bush. I was working with Garage for over a year. And so every month they were sending me new clothes to share with you guys in videos. And that was so cool and so exciting. But they would send me a lot of stuff to show. And it's not that I wouldn't buy the stuff, but I would not buy that much. So let's say they sent me 5 items. I'm happy to show you guys the 5 items, but I don't expect anyone watching to go out and buy all 5 items, let alone maybe even one. Like maybe you see 5, you like 3, but you're only gonna buy 1, right? Or maybe nothing that month. And I wanna be clear that I'm not saying that like the stuff I'm showing isn't worth the money. I think it's more about the volume. Like I would never show you guys something that is crap and that isn't worth the money, but the volume that you get as PR, no one can be expected to actually purchase that much volume because that would just be so much money and so much consumption. And I used to be that person. Like I think back of how much I used to buy and consume. Like every day when I worked at the Big Four, every day after work, pretty much every day, I would go to H&M, go to Garage, go to Aritzia. I was buying myself something new almost every single day, definitely multiple times a week. So from there to now, I definitely save money. Part of it has to do with PR, but most of it has to do with just me changing my habits. But I definitely do save money on skincare because I'm on the L'Oreal PR list, and so different brands will send me their skincare, and that's been pretty amazing. Skincare I feel like is also just more expensive than clothing, I guess depending on like where you're shopping for clothes, but skincare can be so expensive. And so receiving the skincare has definitely brought down my need to shop for skincare, where it hasn't quite killed my love of shopping for clothes. So that's my honest answer on that question, and on all of the questions. How long? We've been recording for so long. So this was a nice, long, chatty video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And the last thing I will say, I should have said this at the beginning, but my videos and my vlogs are like all out of order. You guys are gonna see like my birthday vlog is up so late, and then I'm putting out a Life in Montreal vlog that was filmed before my birthday. So everything's out of order, which bothers me because like I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be in order, but we will get there. Thank you guys for sticking around with me this summer. I hope you've been enjoying the videos and also just enjoying yourself this summer. I think it's time that I stop talking now. Thank you so much for watching this Q&A. Comment a pink emoji if you made it to the end. It means so much to me. Seriously, you guys, your support means the world to me. I love you. I shut up now. Bye.